Okay, well, here you are. We're just going to go live.
Well, hello and welcome to Jungle Chasers. I don't remember what edition we're on actually. I hope to have a lot of fun, be informative tonight, and welcome to all. My name is Patty, and my call sign is KD0AEL. And we'll just start with Rodney and go around the room here for introductions.
Thank you, Patty. My name is Rodney Maloney, and I am one of your hosts here tonight. I'm glad. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully, like what Patty said, you learned something, or we run you away. One of the things, but hopefully, you'll stick around and enjoy what we have to offer, and go from there. My call sign is K0Z. I am one of our net controls for Greene County, as well as a secondary for the Southwest Missouri Regional, and I'll support in any way I can. And so I'll turn it over to Franklin.
Hi, my name is Franklin, KD0RSJ, and I am the coordinator for Greene County Skywarn, as well as a net control for both Greene County and the Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn. I also a ham radio operator, as you might have got from the call sign. Weather enthusiast, photography enthusiast, lots of different enthusiasms I have going on. Most all of them tend to be a little bit somewhat expensive, so I don't get to do as much as I would like sometimes with it, but of course I try to help out any way that I can with Skywarn, and to try to get those watches and warnings out to people, and the ground truth information back to the Weather Service. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to our producer, Steve.
Hey, thanks, Franklin. And I don't actually have a video of me up tonight, due to I've got a few things that we're going to be able to review, and adding the camera in just makes it all that much more complicated. So I'm going to be the voice of Steve, the producer, tonight. So I'm KA0SPM. Let's see, ham radio operator, somewhat of a weather guy, and yeah, that's it. I guess I'm just complicated.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. And with that, over to you, Patty.
All right. Well, I know tonight I'm going to introduce a couple of topics to you for sure. We're going to talk about downbursts briefly. That's going to be in a presentation to come. And I do want to introduce to you as we go along the topic of CAP. And I think it will explain to some of you what has been going on with our weather recently. So I'm glad to do that. For right now, for the region, we have a significant weather advisory for Ozark and West Central Howell counties until 9:15 p.m. We have some pop-up storms that have occurred in our southeastern counties here. This thunderstorm was near Gainesville, or 21 miles northeast of Bull Shoals, moving west at 5 miles per hour. Yes, I said west. Nickel-sized hail and wind gusts to 50 miles per hour will be possible with the storm. Impacted could be Gainesville, Brixie, Noble, Tecumseh, Rockbridge, Zanoni, Hardinville, Sycamore, Wilhoit, Dora, and Caulfield. These storms are also remaining fairly stationary. They are moving a little bit west, but they are dumping tremendous amounts of rain. So localized flooding is definitely a possibility to be aware of and be careful out there. Where to go from there?
Well, just a quick note. We are kind of almost in drought conditions, so that rain is welcomed big time.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of like we went from having a ton of rain here a few weeks ago to high heat, high humidity, and not a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So definitely any rain that we could get, of course, without the damaging effects of torrential heavy rainfall that causes flash flooding and erosion and stuff. A nice gentle rainfall for most of a day or a couple, 2 or 3 days would be nice.
It would be. And it doesn't look like we're going to be having that. We've actually hit a very hot part of our summer. And we're looking at, unfortunately, more heat and fewer chances for rain. There may be some pop-ups Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but our chances of any widespread type of rain are very, very minimal. So that's the unfortunate truth. And as we talked about several weeks ago, it's important to know the symptoms of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and when to get the emergency help. What to do when you're suffering heat exhaustion so that you can cool yourself down, get hydrated, and be healthy.
Yeah. That's definitely always a good thing to know as someone who's kind of suffered heat-related illnesses in the past. It can get you down really, really quick, and until you kind of, start getting to feeling a little bit better, you don't realize how bad you actually are. My first issue with heat-related illness was whenever I was working at Bass Pro, and before I went to work, I had a lot of vomiting and digestional issues, to put it politely, and that just continued, and it was really hot on the truck unloading it, and I asked my manager if I could go home early because I was going to go to urgent care. They ended up putting 1.5 bags of saline in me, which would have been 1 full liter bag and then half of another one, so 1,500 milliliters of saline. I was that dehydrated, and until I got that first bag in, I did not realize how crummy I felt until I got that boost from having that fluid put in me. And then it was like all of a sudden, you all know how warm-natured I am. I don't get cold very often. They got that first bag in me, and I was asking them, do you have one of those heated blankets? Because I was literally shivering.
Well, they dumped a bunch of room temperature water in you, and way more effective than a radiator.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh man,
Definitely cooled you down. That was the important thing.
Well, yeah, and I got the fluid replacement, and it wasn't just water. Of course, it's got some salt in it, and I think typically saline, I think, has a few other minerals in it. It was stuff that I had lost from so much fluid loss and everything.
oh,
I've had 2 bouts of that myself. One back in well, I guess both were back in the 70s. Both were related to being out on the lake, getting too hot, getting horribly sunburned, but also, in addition to that, dehydrated. And I ran a temp of 102, 103 for a couple of days until I got it kind of under control. Yeah. I don't tolerate the heat much since then. So I have to be pretty careful.
And another thing you just pointed out that I think a lot of people do not think can be as serious of a health hazard as it can be. Oh, it's just a sunburn. It's not that bad. You get a bad enough sunburn, particularly over a large portion of your body, that can be a go to the ER type of event. I don't think as many people realize a really severe sunburn can be as bad as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be. I wound up going to the doctor. He prescribed for me a cream that I have never seen since. There used to be a gel on the shelf It's called Rhuli cream, Rhuli.
Hmm.
And problem was, after 3 days in this horrible sunburn, I was not blistering. And he kind of explained to me they were going in instead of coming out, and this cream popped them. I mean, they came out, and I was shedding skin almost immediately. It was kind of fascinating. Um, so that I had to chalk that one down as a once in a lifetime event. But I had been out on Stockton Lake for hours and hours and hours and hours crappie fishing, and I didn't burn until I got in the car in the shade, and you could just literally watch my skin turn shades. I went from this light pink to bright red, and over a great deal of my body. So it was no fun.
And kind of another thing that I've experienced in the past, I don't mean to be monopolizing the time, but you made me think of it when you said you didn't start sunburning real bad until you were in the shade. A lot of times, a lot of people think, well, I'm in the water, so I'm not going to sunburn. Or I'm kind of in a shady part of the water, so I'm not going to sunburn. They don't realize that sometimes that surface of that water can kind of almost act like a mirror, so it bounces the light back to you. And I think almost sometimes, even if you're kind of in a shady part of the water, it can almost kind of like a mirror kind of focus that light more, so maybe it can almost be worse than if you were just out in the direct sunlight shining directly on you. It kind of hits that water and bounces and kind of is slightly intensified.
Oh man.
Yeah,
There's a weird thing. When I was a kid, my dad and I would go to Canada fishing often, and not that we were that far north of the border, but we were anywhere from 50 to 250 miles. So we would always take a camp out trip somewhere around Canada Day, or which they used to call Dominion Day, and 4th of July. And of course, the sun is so much further down in the sky than it is where we are here, that is magnified, that effect. And
Gotcha.
oh man, you want to talk about hot and sunburn. And this was in a time before they had anything like was SPF 30 or anything like that. You just didn't have stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So you just toughed it out. Now, I guess the good news was the lake was so cold that if you were burned, it just froze it. So you do a little swimming and it was done. It took the heat out of that sunburn out of there. But as I've gotten older, I've tried all kinds of home remedies. I've smelled like vinegar. I've had all kinds of crap put on me. This basic anti-inflammatory medicine that you can take. In my case, I can take aspirin. It works really well with sunburn, and not severe sunburn, but just sunburn. The other, I guess, Advil, whatever's an anti-inflammatory, it helps a lot. But yeah, you know what? Cover up. Put something on. Wear a big floppy hat. Don't get burned. It hurts a lot.
Yeah.
Light colored clothing, loose to you, so it's not tight to your skin like t-shirts and stuff might be. My dad worked out in the heat on all kinds of conditions for many, many years, and his go-to was those long-sleeved blue shirts that were rather loose, and bib overalls, and a big brimmed straw hat. And he still wound up getting cancers on his ears. But that was a have to, being out in the sun for hours and hours and hours and hours. So
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it before, at least once on here. My grandfather on my mom's side of the family, whenever he was in the Army, he was stationed for a while in Alaska at, I think it was a radar site. And he had got out and got exposed for a day or two to pretty cold temperatures, and kind of on his his cheeks, his earlobes, the back of his hands. He got some pretty bad, not sunburn, freezer burn, or frostbite, I guess would be freezer burn for people, even though you're not in a freezer. But those places where he got frostbite pretty bad here about 10, 15 years ago, he developed skin cancer. And they removed it, thankfully. I don't think any of it was malignant where it was spreading or anything. They were able to take care of it. He's had one or two little places that have came back, but again, it's not really been malignant. They've been able to remove it. But the doctor that did all that, they just told him, said, you're going to have to wear long sleeve shirts all the time. You're outside, like you said, big brimmed hat to keep sun off your ears and your face and everything. So it definitely, of course, that's not as much summer related, but still, skin cancer is something that can be serious, and you need to kind of watch out about it. I think there's still of the consensus that the more times you get sunburn, a bad sunburn, that kind of multiplies your chances of developing skin cancer down the road, if I'm not mistaken.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
It damages your skin. I've got an arm that's damaged. Only one, because I hung it out the truck window.
Kind of the farmer tan.
Oh, man.
More than a farmer's tan if he's getting that kind of mess.
Farmer, bucket trucks, cable vans, the whole bit. It's just a habit. You hang that arm out the window, and, if I were English, it would be the other arm. So...
We need to take turns not being on the driver's side and have someone drive you around so you can get yourself
Stand
out.
the other side.
Yeah, I need to get me a Jaguar to drive, from England, so I can...
But don't drive on the other side of the road.
No, that would be bad.
You'll need to stay on the right side and drive on the shoulder side.
So, Patty, you've got about a minute's worth of video for us.
I do, and what I'm going to introduce here is a topic that might clear up why we are experiencing some of the weather that we have been recently. So we have, and I'm pulling up a little resource here. We've been getting a lot of forecasts recently that say the potential of severe weather, pop-up storms, and we get nothing. We see some pretty clouds start to arrive and then nothing. And so I am hoping to shed a little bit of light on what's happening. It's called CAP, or also called lid, which is a layer of relatively warm air aloft, usually several thousand feet above the ground. This suppresses the development of thunderstorms. It can also delay it, but what we've been experiencing actually suppresses the development of any thunderstorms. Air parcels rising into this layer become cooler than the surrounding air, and it inhibits their ability to rise further and produce thunderstorms. As such, the cap often prevents the thunderstorm development, even in the presence of extreme instability. If the cap is removed or weakened, then explosive thunderstorm development can occur. Cap is an important ingredient in most thunderstorm episodes. It serves to separate warm, moist air below and cooler, drier air above. With the cap in place, air below it can continue to warm or moisten, thus increasing the amount of potential instability. And we've seen this happen with these explosive thunderstorms that have happened above us. Unfortunately for us, the cap hasn't decided to break, except maybe in the case of what's going on in Howell County right now. So you can have all the ingredients in place, even the lift, but if that parcel can't get above that cap, you're just not going to get the storm development. The video that Steve is going to show you, he describes it really well. I like the graphics in this. It only lasts about a minute, so let's go on to the video.
All right.
All right, good morning. So we had a cap in place yesterday. Well, what is a cap?
Turn the
Basically,
volume up
warm
a
moist air
little.
always rises. The cap stops that from happening. It's a layer of warm air, and it divides the cool, dry air up top and the warm, moist air that's trying to rise on up. Now, without a cap, normally everything would go, and you'd use up all that unstable air fairly quickly. You'd get a few thunderstorms, but it uses it on up, and we roll on out those storms fairly fast. Now, when there is that cap in place, it can actually allow, at times, it can either hold it completely at bay, as you see here, or it can allow it to back build and back build and back build, and even build in more instability and unstable air until it finally violently breaks through the cap, and that's when you can see some of those stronger severe storms actually break on through. So two scenarios: either it holds that warm moist air at bay and we continue with a hot day, or you've got one of these occasions which we didn't have, for instance, yesterday, where the warm moist air breaks on through after back building enough to finally break through that cap. So that's just a basic idea of what a cap is. Full name, capping inversion. You can read more in the article below on exactly what this type of stuff is.
And that is a pretty good illustration of how a cap works.
Right.
So let's break this down a little bit. So the way a cap forms is it's a layer of moist air that, you know, where does that air come from? Is that based on a frontal system that can push that, or is that also based on, I mean, I know they call it what, a temperature inversion as well. Is that what it's considered, or is cap completely different?
The cap is different. So you have this if you could think of a layered salad, okay? You have the surface temperature, surface environment going on, and then you have several layers above that of ingredients that can come into play in our weather. And you'll hear them talk about 300 millibar, 500 millibar, 800 millibar. It seems like those are where jet streams travel, is where frontal systems may travel. It's just typical weather movement. A cap is just one ingredient, one layer in there that can be at various levels. What we were seeing yesterday, I told Steve, must have been fairly low. I'm thinking maybe 300 millibar, no more than 5. The cloud cover that we had everything was in place. We had shear, we had moisture, we had instability, and the lift just couldn't happen. It was convective inhibition because of that cap. And you could actually see it in the clouds. They looked like pancakes. So, to quote one of our local meteorologists. So, hold on, I will be right back. I'm going to mute because I have a advisory to read.
Oh, okay.
So I guess, you know, just to kind of go over what she's saying, since she's going to have to do that, weather waits for no woman. Let's put it that way. So
Or man.
one of those things, or man, but in this case, woman, and she is manning the radio. So you know, when you've got the bad weather in this area, then that's what we're going to be doing. That's whole part of the whole Skywarn thing in the first place. But anyway, so you see these caps develop a lot, especially during the summertime summertime, simply because you know, the temperature, I mean, it's hot, obviously, it's humid and everything kind of builds up from there. And so it can inhibit you from having actual storms, because it's kind of weird, because even though that's dry, moist air, what makes storms so severe in the first place is when they get to the temperature changes, and you're talking about sub freezing, because it's way up there in the atmosphere. And you would never think that water would condense to that point. You would think that it would be falling before then. You just don't realize how high that can go because of a lot of it is related to the I'm drawing a blank. The updraft. The updraft is what's causing that dry moist air to move quickly. It would kind of go on its own, but with the updraft on its own, it's being pushed up into there. Well, that cap says, no, it's not going to happen. It basically blocks that from getting to a certain temperature to where thunderstorms can develop and, hail cores and everything else that comes along with it. Is that kind of what, I don't know if she's read what she said. Nope. Apparently I'm off.
He
Kick
called
me
it
off the show. Go on.
Well,
capping
Okay,
inversion.
so you have a parcel of air that's lifted with the radiosonde, with the weather balloon. And that parcel of air is ambient temperature at the ground. Okay? If that parcel can lift high into the atmosphere, we do not have cap. The cap actually cools that parcel down and it falls so that it can't raise. So that's just one to sample, but you're thinking about our whole atmospheres that way. Those parcels are trying to raise. They're hot. They're warmed up by the sun in the heat of the day, as these storms have been that are popping up right now. And so those parcels are able to rise. It hits that cap, it cools, it falls back down, which says that none of that moisture is able to get past that cap to allow the storm development. Does that make sense? In other words, your clouds are made of moisture. The clouds can't form if they can't raise into the atmosphere.
I kind of like the term stratification, where you have a lower area that has lots of humidity, lots of energy, but it hits a certain point and it can't, it's colder or it's warmer, and it changes that amount of moisture, so the cape levels change. Would that be reasonable?
Cape is a different thing. Cape is your convective available potential energy.
Right, but when
Which
you go
you can
up,
have the cape, but if you have cap, the cape doesn't mean a whole lot. The cap is going to prevent that cape from reaching its potential.
but it's still
So
there.
It has to fall off to get the cape.
It
or
gets-
the Never mind. Go ahead.
If it's still a situation where cape is a measure of humidity and heat, and when you hit the cap, which is different, it is a lowering of temperature, which also allows it can't hold that amount of moisture anymore, right?
Right.
So it's kind of what's the energy mechanism that's building the storm just kind of can't anymore, because it gets that layer and it says, no, I can't support it, and you say it, the parcel of air falls because it no longer can carry that energy, that water and heat upwards until it gets to a certain point, and then it can't resist it anymore, right?
Right. And go ahead, Franklin.
I was just going to say, I think one way that I've heard it explained that I think is a good layman's explanation, and I can't remember if it was you or if it was Steve Runnels at one of the weather classes or IWT meetings that explained it this way. It's kind of like you have a pot of water on a stove that you're heating up and it starts to boil. And you've got all the water vapor that kind of starts coming up, and then you put a lid on the pot. That lid is like your cap. It keeps that energy or that water vapor from going past a certain point. Now, if that cap erodes or that energy builds up to the point where it's able to punch through that cap, then it's like taking the lid off and you have all that steam that just all of a sudden comes up out of your pot. That's when you get that mixing of that moisture and that heat from below with the cool air above, and that's where you get those strong to severe thunderstorms that develop. Is that pretty accurate?
That's a very, very, very good explanation. So, I have another photo here that might help. Let me get this pulled up.
I've got today's right most recent sounding up. Would that show you? Are we capped now?
Some areas still are. The cap is breaking. I mean, we've got storms now to our southwestern counties. So here you go. You have your parcel, and you have all the factors there. Let's just say we've got some striations in the clouds here, telling me there's some shear. There's obviously some moisture in the area. Daylight. I'm thinking probably some instability. And so the cap is, well, think of it this way. In the wintertime, you put a cap on to keep your head warm, right? It keeps the heat in. And so this cap is essentially doing that to our environment. It's keeping the heat in, just as if you put a cap on your head.
Yeah, I think that's a good example as well. Like you said, you put a hat or a cap on that keeps heat in your body from being lost from the top of your head, similar to the explanation of like the boiling pot with the lid on it that keeps the steam from rising above the lid. The cap keeps you from losing heat from your head. So yeah, I think those are both good examples.
So I've got the sounding queued up here if you want to get put on the spot and show us on a sounding what it looks like.
Would it be easier if I did it so you can see my mouse move? So this sounding actually, that's interesting. Okay, so, and I'm colorblind, so I can't tell you green and red. But you have a line to the left here, which has a V just above, what is that, 300 millibars? Your
3
screen's a little
kilometers.
blurry to me.
Yeah.
3 kilometers.
And I think that's
so,
the green.
yeah. So the parcel would lift to that point and not be able to go past it. And you see the dots along there kind of showing that the parcel's a bit inhibited. So I'm betting that was done at, what, 6 p.m.? So...
yeah, it was 0 Zulu.
Yeah, so... or 7 p.m. The cap is now eroding, and so you've got some storms developing, albeit not explosive. These are not storms that are reaching 45,000 feet or anything like that by any means, but we have surface cape.
Surface 47.
Pretty high.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. Our cape, our convective available potential is pretty high. So what you look at is send convective inhibition, negative 22. So as that number drops, your parcel has a better chance of raising. We got another storm popping up.
You mean it goes towards 0?
Right.
So that means it's raising. More
Right.
lift.
Not dropping,
potential.
but raising more. The lift is a different thing.
Lift index is
That's-
LI minus 10.
Yeah. And that's a number, and we'll get into that another night. That's one of the numbers we look at when we're looking at severe storm development. the lift index of -10 can be pretty significant. Our mixed cape, though, is not as well. Yeah, that's still 47. That 4,700 is very significant, which I have to wonder, and I'm not a forecaster, but I have to wonder if that having that much available potential energy is what's actually breaking the cap in some of these storms, because that is very high.
Yeah, because pretty much isn't the threshold for severe weather about 2,000?
We can actually have severe weather with 500.
With 500.
I've seen it happen.
Just depends on different elements in the mix.
Right. It really does. It really does. In the springtime, when the storms are coming in, if I see 2,500 or above, and all the other ingredients are there with it, I get very concerned that we're going to have some very significantly severe storms. So
we are showing a possible hazard type, marginal tornado risk. That's what it says in the corner.
Interesting. That's not at all in the forecast.
Our storm slinky goes in it almost looks like a hockey stick.
I don't like Facebook tonight. I'm trying to make posts, and I can't tell if they're posting or not. I made the mistake of going to a dark screen, and it said, "Hey, you can change this back anytime." No, you can't. You can't find a thing to do it. It doesn't want to take my posts now. It's yeah.
Is it the new interface that we were discussing off the air?
Yeah.
Now there should be, and I'm seeing here, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's kind of a circle with a down-pointing arrow.
Right.
If you click on that, then there should be a toggle. Well, not only that, but there should also be a toggle right above that to switch dark mode on and off.
Right. So I'm switching back to classic. Don't like to look, can't find things. How many of these? Can I select all of them?
See, when I was on Facebook early this morning, I was still in classic mode. Whenever I signed in right before we started the live stream, it just sent me into the new look and said you can change back if you want to. So I don't have much experience with this yet. It looks like to me, at least part of the interface, the buttons across the top, they're going more towards the mobile Facebook interface, which I don't know whether I would like or not. And I know probably a lot of people might be watching this and thinking, well, what does Facebook have to do with the weather? We do a lot of our postings and stuff to the general public on Facebook. We've got a spotter page for both the regional Skywarn and the Greene County Skywarn. We've got a public page for the regional Skywarn. We don't have one, again, for Greene County yet. But we have a net control chat that we do a lot of back channel communications behind the scenes between the different net controls. And we do all of that through Facebook just because there's not really a good text option
We've
to
tried
include
many.
as many people as we need to have in the discussion.
We had one that we tried for a while, and we had a couple of people that would not move to an alternate channel and just loaded it up.
And there for a while, I think on your Android phone, you were able to do like group chats in like the realm of 20, 25, 30 people, but then didn't you get an update and they removed that?
Right. I can't even send more than, 10 people to a text. It tops out there. And when you're trying to get weather alerts and things out to people and information out, it's just much easier to add them into a chat group and go from there. Um, we also, if the Storm Prediction Center has us in an enhanced risk or above, I tend to start an event on the spotter page so that people can follow the information there. Keeping it in one spot, we can still continue with our forecasts and other discussions and sharing of information, but leaving that separate so people can keep up. So yeah, we do a lot, and I've made a number of posts just since we've been on here, from the Weather Service posting the significant weather advisories. I'm not reading all of them on the repeater because right now Howell County and Shannon County can't hear us, and I've got a warning, so I will be right back.
No problem, Patty.
So I would say the cap is eroding.
Yeah. Yeah,
At
that
least
typically happens in the
eastern
evening.
area.
As the sun sets, that stratification layer actually reduces. So I have to share something. We went out photographing last night, and actually we spent enough time sitting and watching the sky that as the sun set that we saw some rather odd things. Number one, we did see the comet. Number two, the International Space Station made an almost direct overhead pass, and it looked like the brightest star you've ever seen, flying right over the top of us.
Is that what was kind of like that yellow streak in that one photo you posted?
No, that was a lightning bug.
Oh, a lightning... Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I was taking longer exposures to draw the comet out because you can't just see it with your eyes. And
yeah,
we had thousands of lightning bugs out there, and I should have just pointed the camera at the hayfield and let it go and just get all of them, because it's just amazing the number of insects that were there.
That would have been cool.
It would. I'm going to try again. We actually saw a turtle. I got a picture of a turtle's butt. We couldn't dig her out of the grass, and be nice, so we could get her head. But it was a rather aged box turtle, which I thought was kind of neat.
Wow.
But while we were sitting there, the wind kind of picked up, which I was like, I wasn't expecting wind tonight. And it blew in from the north, actually almost a little northeast, and it was rather strong. But we were, and when you feel the wind coming from a certain direction, you expect the clouds to be going the same way. Nope, completely opposite direction. They were going up, I don't know, 3,000 feet maybe. They were going towards the northeast. And so when you talk about severe weather ingredients, that's one of those. Shear is one of those things where your lower level winds are one direction and the upper ones are the other. You could actually see the shear. You could see that it was happening. Now, we had none of the other ingredients to develop severe weather, so no risk. It's just there was one that you could actually tangibly touch. And I told Patty, I said, this would be a good night to do what they call boxing in a balloon. So you take off and you go one way, and then you go up and the wind takes you back to where you started, and you come back down and you land in the same spot, which kind of interesting stuff. But it was fun, and we managed to stay out of the grass and stuff, so we did not get bug bit.
That's nice.
Yeah. I believe that we're at the mercy of clear skies, and so our trip Saturday is because we're not going to have cloud cover. And it's an astronomical event that happens once every 6,800 years, so we got to do it. So that's my reasoning for I ain't gonna be at the meeting. I'm sorry, I gotta go do this. Other hobbies sometimes take precedence, and this is the one. So Ronnie, what you need to do is go live on your phone
Oh yeah.
so that everybody can see it. Which I know you've probably got the data plan for it. Just even if you just walked around and introduced everybody that's there, that would be good, so everybody can see how the meeting went. Man, that must be serious.
Either that, or she may be getting some reports from one area or another. Now, what I just noticed on radar scope right now, I'm not for sure how long ago it popped up, but there is actually a severe thunderstorm warning in the Neosho County, so that's McDonald County down in the corner. Don't think that's Jasper County. What would be the county between McDonald and Jasper?
Newton.
Newton.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Maybe
I
if you've
probably
got
could have
radar,
just clicked on here.
if one of the two of you has radar, pop it up there so we can have a look.
Yeah, Central Newton. Do you want me to go ahead and read it? Because I've actually got it popped up right now.
Yeah, or if you want to pull radar up too, if you've got it there.
I've just got it in a little corner,
Oh,
and this
okay.
is going to cover up over it. So I might go ahead and expand it and show it here in just a second. But the National Weather Service in Springfield has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for central Newton County in southwestern Missouri until 9:45 p.m. At 9:13 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located over Neosho, moving northeast at 5 miles per hour. That's going slow. Hazards include ping pong ball size hail and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This is radar indicated. People and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roof sidings, windows, and vehicles. Expect wind damage to siding and trees. I'll skip over the cities. This includes Interstate 49 between mile markers 21 and 32. So definitely anyone in that area, they should move to inside protection on the interior room of the lowest floor of the building. Of course, that size hail, that's going to cause damage that could, hurt you pretty badly if you get hit, particularly if you get hit in the head. There is continuous cloud-to-ground lightning occurring with this storm, so definitely you need to move inside for that. A lot of people don't think, well, if I can't see the lightning, if I just hear the thunder, I'm okay. Or, well, I'll do the, I see the flash of lightning and I'll count how many seconds until I hear the thunder. That'll tell me how far away it is and I'll be okay. No. If you are close enough to hear the thunder, you can be struck by lightning from that storm. Some lightning strikes can strike up to, I believe, about 10 miles from the storm.
25.
Is it 25?
25.
From the storm it actually originates from. So definitely, if you can hear that thunder, do not think you're safe. You could be struck by lightning.
Station calling. You're a little bit noisy into
And
the
then
repeater.
I'll go
Can you
ahead
improve the
and
position possibly and try again.
put this over here. I'll go ahead and maximize it, and then I will screen share here real quick, and then I'll show you guys.
Understand. So
talking
you have a
about
report
that.
for me?
Okay, and you should be seeing my screen now, and if you can see, I don't know if you'll see my cursor or not, but around here
P-size hail. Can you give me
is
location and
the
time?
area that I was talking about. And I'll kind of zoom in on that and kind of let's go. So this is Neosho right here, and this is the cell that's prompted this thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, I can't. Patty's interfering. I can't control her sound.
So as you can see, there are quite a few lightning strikes in there, kind of here between Neosho and Stark City. And if I go to my annotation tool, I'll just kind of circle around that area. So within that circle, we've got several lightning strikes, particularly right here around Neosho. And as you can see, I kind of have the color legend down here below. These orange and kind of orangish red areas, those are where you're getting more return energy from the radar reflected back to the radar. So that indicates that that's some pretty moderate to heavy rain there as well. And with this only moving 5 miles per hour, if this lasts for very long, that could equate to, you know, some significant downpours, maybe possibly flooding concerns maybe. We tend to get those more where storms either move through very slowly and they dump a lot of rain in a short period of time, or you get what's called training storms, where you keep getting storms that keep developing over the same area over and over, and they just keep dumping rain, and that can go on for several hours to sometimes it can go on for like half a day, just depending on how these storms start.
Station calling,
Now
you're not
go
holding
ahead
the repeater. KD08EO.
Stop sharing my screen.
This was rather a quick development from what I saw.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, unless I just didn't get an update in time, when she had the last time she had muted to read a product, unless that was the product and my radar just had not updated yet, that polygon was not there. And then whenever you'd said something about must be significant, just right before that was when I saw the polygon.
That's right there in Cade's neighborhood.
Not too far, yes.
Hey, leave that thing
In
blow
fact-
up.
In fact,
And
it kind of looks
it's
like-
relatively like it's almost stationary if you think.
Yeah,
It's moving.
it's only moving about 5 miles per hour.
Well, this is an example of the cap rotating.
Yeah.
So
So either in that area, the cap has either eroded away, or it's built up enough energy underneath that cap that it's punched through.
Well, that would erode the cap away. So,
Well, yeah.
in essence, yeah.
Well, I was just kind of making a distinction between the cap just kind of eroding away on its own, and,
If
and
you-
kind of
right.
building up.
It takes factors for that to happen, and the environmental conditions can actually erode away the cap, which is, I think, what's happening from Highway 60 points south is under a marginal risk, and that is actually the area where these storms are popping.
Yeah.
So I think that may have been, and I'm guessing, I'll be honest, I'm no forecaster, but I think that may have been one of the factors that was weighed into the decision to make that a marginal risk area, was that there may be enough of the right mix to erode the cap. It would be interesting some night to get one of our meteorologists to talk to us about what factors can erode the cap.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool. I would like to learn about that.
Now, I did have a question from Heather here in the chat room just a little bit ago, and you were busy doing your Skywarn stuff, so I told her that I would ask whenever you were available. Steve and I kind of answered a little bit of it in the chat room, but she was wondering, with this being more of a summer pattern and not so much a spring pattern, we're kind of moved into our summer severe weather season, what would you be looking for in the sounding values for a significant severe weather or something that might indicate an outbreak? I kind of mentioned about the Cape levels, but I didn't know if there would be other
I
things.
look for the same factors year round.
Mhm.
We can have tornadoes any time. But the other thing I'm going to be looking at is what is available to give the drive to these storms. Are there any major fronts that are coming through? A cold front with significant temperature drops on the other side of it. In other words, I'm looking for the same ingredients that I look for year round, spring and fall. That's what we do miss here in the summer is we don't have a 20 or 30 degree drop in temperature or more on those cold fronts that come through. They're more like cool fronts. I'm sorry, Marvin. I was busy. Could you repeat, please?
I
Thank
didn't
you,
know if
Marvin.
maybe he
He's
was gonna
yep.
unlink the Joplin repeater or not.
He just brought it up. I actually had to read
Okay.
the thing twice for the folks in Neo show. They are seeing ping pong size hail in that. I did get a report of pea-sized hail on Business 49, so
Okay.
there is hail in the area. Ping pong size hail. I don't know if anyone has ever seen that or if there's any quick photos available to share, but ping pong size hail driven by 60, 70 mile an hour winds can drive through the side of a house. Back to Heather's question. So I look for the same factors. It's just that the factors are not the same when we have 90 degrees outside with 105 heat index and a cold front that comes through dropping our temp down to 88, 87, as we do in the fall when it's a 75-degree day and the cold front's coming through bringing 30-degree temperatures. That's where you get the big booms, is that extreme, ping pong.
Yeah.
You got it. I was working on.
So I ought to share the photo that my nephew shared with me of vehicles in Colorado yesterday that were decimated by that kind of hail. I'd have to pull that up. I didn't think that would come into the topic today. But Heather, I hope that helps. Helps you to understand. What we mostly will see this time of year are pop-up individual cells. They do not reach that 45, 50,000 feet level. They're more 25, 30,000, which the hail from this storm's kind of surprising, actually, if they're expecting ping pongs. This is a big storm.
Mm-hmm.
And
could that indicate a stronger updraft, that it's
yes,
keeping those hailstones up
it has
longer?
It has to. For hail to reach ping pong size, I think the updraft has to be around 75 mile an hour.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Can you imagine what it would be with grapefruit size hail?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that blew my mind was, I did see a picture one time of, it was either bowling ball or near bowling ball size, and it was like all these like ping pong or maybe like softball or grapefruit size hailstones that were all fused together.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, they're bouncing around up there, and they go down and they go back up, and they go down and they go back up. And as long as that updraft can suspend them, they're banging into each other up there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Yeah, I think the biggest hailstone on record is 8.75 inches. Don't quote me on that, but I know it is over 8 inches. And it was one like that. That was just all kinds of hail melded together.
Don't go out in it.
Yeah, for
Don't ever
sure.
go out in it.
And
Put on
Heather,
your helmet.
posted in the chat thinks that kind of answered her question.
Okay, good. Good. One of the things I look for more than anything in the summertime are downburst storms. And you'll get a pop-up thunderstorm. It's just kind of hanging there, kind of lazy. And at some point, it everything it's got gets so heavy that it all comes down at once as that storm subsides. And so you get downburst winds out of that are real hard to predict or put a severe thunderstorm warning on. And people are going, why have I got trees down? It's because you were under a microburst. And yeah. So I'm always cautious when I see these individual cells just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. Because at some point they weaken, and when they weaken, they can no longer hold that moisture in the air, and it can come down very violently.
Oh yeah, it has in the past. Those micro downbursts have brought airliners down.
Yes. And we talked about this, I think here a few weeks ago, about the events that led to Weather Service providing more information to the flights, because there had been several that went down. I think most notably in Dallas. 200 and some odd people on board.
There was one, I think it may be the same one that I'm thinking about. I wish I could find my natural disaster book that I got for that school geography bee. It may still be in one of these boxes that's not been that has not been unpacked. But it was either late 70s or early 80s, I think. There was a airplane, and I can't remember what type it was. It was a jet liner that was coming in, I believe, for a landing at Dallas. And all of a sudden, they just had this micro downburst that just right over the plane, just heavy wind, just straight down, and put it straight into the ground. And I believe everyone was killed.
Yeah, and a pilot can't correct for that. It just drives the plane into the ground.
Yeah.
We have a lot of that here in the summer.
That's what I was saying.
And as many times as you and I have sat and watched the radar, and you see this storm just die, and there's a big wave that comes out from around it, and it happens
you
like
see the outflow.
It's just crazy.
If you look at the reflectivity, there's also a bit of a donut in the center of that, and then you see the outflow from it that goes for miles and miles and miles and miles. We had one hit south of or east of town 2 years ago, and I think they said 90-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh my!
Yeah,
that's over EF1 tornado.
Yeah.
Threshold, isn't it?
Right.
It's definitely, I know, over a Category 1 hurricane threshold.
Yeah, you're correct there too, but it's in a very tiny area.
Yeah.
So, and what you'll notice from those, as opposed to straight line winds or a tornado is going to spin things around and everything's just kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Straight line wind's going to lay it all in one direction. A microburst, it looks like something reached down and hit straight down, and it all lays out in a circle.
Yeah.
So the wind's actually going 360 from that point out, and you'll see that in the outflow.
But kind of different from a tornado, where it's just like a jumble. It's some this way here, some this way here, some that. The downburst goes in all directions, but it's uniform, like you said, in a circle. It's not a jumble like a tornado.
Right. I actually saw a photo the other day, and I should have saved it in retrospect. It was a cornfield in Kansas where they had a microburst, and there was this perfect circle of corn down in the middle of the field.
Cool.
So it was a definite microburst there. Uh, and somebody was going, how can that happen? It certainly wasn't crop circles, although it was a crop circle.
Aliens. It was aliens.
Aliens.
They came down with their ship, and that's what caused the downburst.
You got that Greek guy with the crazy hair. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Yeah.
You know,
So the storm to the north and east of West Plains is dying.
I've got the
one-
lightning maps up for the storm there south of Neosho, and the lightning strikes are actually growing in size as opposed to the radar.
Yeah. I'm seeing a little bit more on my radar scope here too. I was just kind of rearranging things so that I could enlarge that window.
Yeah, that's blowing it away on lightning, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Moved a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Right.
The hail core is greater to the upper levels of that storm. Let's see how high it goes. Oh, heavens.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of a hail core just northeast of Neosho on tilt 1, which for me is the half a degree tilt.
Right. So at 5.1, the hail core south and a little east of Granby is still there. So that is probably what they're basing the ping pong size hail on. I can't remember. Is that 40,000 feet?
Hold on just a second. Radar. No, wait, that's not what I want. I want that radar. So you get out to about Neosho. And that's coming in at 4.5 kilofeet. So that would be about 4,500 feet up in the air.
45,000. Yeah.
Oh, 45,000, yeah. I always get that confused. I just kind of almost wish instead of them putting kilofeet, they would just put, like 45.000 feet.
Well, they don't. It's not kilofeet. It's 1,000 feet.
Well, but my brain doesn't think of it that way.
Well, it's not millifeet.
The moral of the story here is, for every net control or person who would like to participate in net control, ask enough questions so that you understand it in your own terms.
Yeah.
We are not meteorologists. We are weather hobbyists, and we haven't had that training. We've had a lot of training, believe me, but we haven't had that training so that we have these down as just everyday language. So put it in language, and don't be afraid to put it in your own language.
Yeah, none of us have...
You say that across a actual report.
None of us have spent, 4 to maybe 6 years in meteorology school.
Yeah, it's dropping at so many kilofeet.
So, and gone are the days when they would even allow, AMS used to allow people that were civilians to become certified. Jim was.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get ready to say. I don't know if he was one of the last, but I know he was one of the few that had got certified without being a meteorologist.
One of the last and the few. And I shall return once again.
Mute your Skype. Mute your Skype.
Skype your mute.
If she didn't, I don't know. I might be able to.
Hang on. I'm feeding it.
Well, no, it looks like she's muted because the mute is.
No, that's bad.
Right now. Okay.
I'm too close. I don't think the other radio will pick it up.
p.m. At 9:41 p.m., severe thunderstorm was located near Neosho, moving northeast at 10 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's
Hearing
Miles per
that
hour
whiny
gusting
sound
quarter
again.
size hail can be expected. Locations impacted include Neosho, Diamond, Newtonia,
I could feed
Yeah,
it
but-
my radio if you needed
Granby,
it.
Fairview,
But
and
other
Park
than
City.
that,
For your
her
protection,
audio
please
is
move to an interior
cleaner
room
and more
on the lowest
intelligible.
floor of a building at this time. Large hail and damaging winds and continuous
Yeah,
clouds
I
around
just
lightning
kind of
are
switched
occurring
over
with
to
this storm.
the eastern
Move into us
area,
immediately if you
all
are
that
outside.
stuff,
This is KP0,
particularly around
ATL
West
with
Pent
Southwest
Lanes, but
Missouri
even that
Regional
north
Skywarn.
of Gainesville and east of Mountain Grove and near Eminence, that all kind of looks like that's breaking up.
You know what's interesting about this is they've got polygons that are like overlapping each other.
Yeah, they do now. I see that now that I go back over there. Thunderstorm. Well, yeah, the one expires here in about a minute if they let that expire. So I'm wondering if they're going to let that expire and they put out the new one, which expires in 31 minutes to count for it. Maybe slightly have shifting. So I bet that's what they're going to do. They're going to let the first warning expire, and then that new one is for taking into account the storm having shifted some.
I was watching a storm in Nebraska the other night, and they were doing a lot the same thing. This storm was moving down into Kansas, and it's like that is just confusing on the radar. But I know that here several months ago, they said that they were going to be changing how they extended these warnings. It would be more of a moving polygon rather than a stationary thing. And I wonder if this is how they're working to transition that into a moving polygon as the storm moves. I haven't stopped to ask anyone about that. But it serves to reason. If you notice now, the first polygon is gone. So it was a very slight shift, but it included a greater area, the area on downstream of the storm. So that would be my guess, that they're moving in that direction.
But it's almost like they put a gap between like a 5-minute span. So like they knew that they were going to be expiring the other one, or they automatically expired it to move it into the next direction, from what I can see,
Right. And instead of extending that warning, they just issued a new one to include, yeah.
And I had kind of wondered, because I had seen that video about them showing kind of a simulation of the moving or rolling warnings, and I kind of had wondered how that was going to work. If it would be like, be shifting every minute, every 5 minutes, or kind of how they would do that.
I think we're seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. These storms are casting quite a shadow. We're getting, past sundown, but they're casting quite a shadow.
Is there precipitation on the south side of Springfield, or is that just clutter?
I only see clutter.
It looks like it's all located south of the James River, down into Nixa, but it looks like on, I guess the mosaic, you can kind of see it on that map I've got up on mine, sort of.
When I put my radar in motion, it's there. And I mean, it kind of comes and goes in places, but it doesn't really look like there's really motion like it's moving. So
Right.
that was kind of
It's
one of
kind
the
of
yeah,
it's
that was
sitting
kind of
there, and that could be bugs. That could be. I don't think it could be dust.
yeah, that was one of the things I remember. I think it was Mark had mentioned in one of the go to meeting live streams that we had done earlier in the spring was if it's really not moving, it's likely ground clutter.
Right. Right. And it will pick up dust particles. It will pick up bugs. It will pick up all kinds of things.
Bats
And
and birds.
and this is on the plateau, and we've had some pretty good wind gusts today. So it serves the reason that there too that would be just picking up all those things around the city.
And not necessarily right now, but before in the last few years, whenever there's been a lot of smoke or dust, kind of like you said, in the atmosphere, whether it's from around here locally or sometimes when we've had, they've been burning off brush to our west and our south and southwest, and that kind of that smoky haze gets up around here. That sometimes can be picked up on the radar as well.
Is that seems bizarre.
What's that?
So I just clicked on the arrow on that storm,
Mm-hmm.
and it said that the storm will get to Ritchie by 10:47 p.m.
Oh my
It made me
gosh.
look. It made me look at the clock.
It's almost 10.
Yeah.
That's a slow mover, babe.
I was gonna say it's nearly stationary, isn't it? I mean,
Well,
it takes
now,
an hour to get moved from there to there.
Yeah.
It's
now,
already
now it's saying northeast at 10 miles per hour, so it's doubled its speed, but still, that's not very fast.
that blows my
Made me
mind.
look.
Typo? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think so. Man, there was lightning hitting way out away from the legit part of that storm. And granted,
So
my
are you
lightning
saying that
maps
there's
are showing
probably
a composite of the
do
radar.
we have positive lightning strikes coming out of it? It is a fairly tall cell.
I mean, it just took off down towards Grand Lake like 8 or 9 big strikes, real defined.
Let me see if I can get GR level 2 analyst up and we can get a 3D cutting of that.
Ooh.
That would be
Well,
interesting.
that's 15 minutes old, though. Let me see if this updates.
Oh, I posted that in the wrong place. I don't know where I posted that, but I didn't post that in the wrong place or the right place.
Okay, my Echo Tops data is about 15 minutes old, but yeah, I'm seeing right there around Neosho, kind of from the north, kind of curving around the west to kind of the south-southwest, and then just north of Newtonia, I'm seeing Echo Tops in the upper 40s to low 50,000 feet. So and I'm seeing a little place just south of Newtonia, about 49,000 feet. So those are pretty tall storms. But like I said, this is about 15-minute old data.
50,000, is that what you said?
49 to 50. I think there was one
Dang.
spot around Neosho that was 51,000.
It's been a while since I've heard of that. Used to be you'd hear about storms out in the panhandle of Texas going to 65 to 70,000, but I haven't heard that much.
Yeah, most of the stuff I've been noticing around here the last year or so usually tops out about 40.
If you notice too that so far this year, we've only had 6 tornado watches issued in this country. but we've had a lot of severe weather and some of it very extreme.
Mhm.
I think people are starting to take note that severe thunderstorms can and do cause more damage often than tornadoes do.
I hope
Um,
so.
I do too, because there's a laissez-faire attitude. Oh, it's just 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
Just
Try standing. Try standing in 60-mile-an-hour winds. Oh, and let's add quarter-size hail to that, and see how that feels beating down on you at 60 mile an hour. Um,
Or it's just rain. It's just flooding. It's not a
Look at
big
there,
it's
deal.
just
Rodney has
flooding. I've been
sliced that
through here all
storm
the
up.
time. Look at that. Very nice. Look at that
look at
overshooting
the ant.
top.
Yeah, look at that antful.
Ooh.
Let me see if I can kind of bring it up just a little bit more here. It don't always like my cutouts here. I have to almost get a full blown thing. Come on, cooperate. And there we go. Here's a nice big cutout of that. That's massive.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is.
And there is I mean, based on what you were saying, there
Yeah.
where the intensity is, that's definitely where the overshoot top is.
About upper 40s to low 50,000s.
Yeah.
As much lightning
So-
is going on right now, that would be very photogenic.
And
Oh, I
say
bet.
hail core is right in the middle of that business.
No!
No.
Get us out! Get us out!
And yeah, and
Isn't that wild though? That's
That
way
is.
too close.
that is wild.
Okay. Anyway, I have way too much fun with that. But I mean,
Yeah,
as
no
far as
kidding.
picture wise, that's pretty cool. And if you look closely, there's little. I mean, those are obviously not funnel clouds, but look how that's kind of shooting. How it's kind of picking up on some of those little kind of clouds across the bottom there. That's kind of
Mhm.
interesting.
So there's some information that would be really great to have, but you need a whole bunch of little weather stations to get it. Is what are the wind directions around that storm? You know, what kind of a inflow in miles per hour do you have? What direction is it going? You know, that would be amazing to see. This thing's a great big giant heat engine, and it's just cool. You know.
There you go.
Nice.
Cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So what's the future for this storm?
For this storm, if it continues the way it's going, it's going to be around a while. It doesn't show any signs of weakening. In fact, as they extended the polygon, if you look on the northeastern edge of this, it almost looks as if it's starting to add some development to that northeast corner, as if maybe it's going to perpetuate a new cell out of itself, which they'll do. They'll perpetuate a cell downstream from themselves as they die, and that cell then will travel on. So
You're talking about that area kind of around Ritchie.
yeah, just to the west of Monette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now there were some strikes that took off and headed towards Republic. And of course, on my graphic that I've got, the circles are theoretically thunder, because they predict the expansion of the sound wave via computer on that. And
Got
It whether that's legit or not, I've never proven it to be completely good, but it does give you an idea. I'm seeing almost 70 strikes per minute, and quite a number of them are ground strikes.
Yeah, they're saying significant lightning. I'm getting a report right now from a spotter in the Neosho area or Newton County area. I'm trying to get a little more information out of him on the lightning. He says significant lightning, so we're going to define that.
If we were more prone to the low precipitation, if you're sitting in say Monette with the long exposures, that would be an amazing light up of the clouds. It really would.
Oh, it really would.
I mean, 60 to 70 strikes per minute. That is cooking.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the warning product on radar scope, and as you were saying, they're saying continuous cloud-to-ground lightning.
And almost as good as the comet.
So
Let's go.
Yeah. So that's not just a few strikes every minute or every couple of minutes. That's like every
Second.
10, 15
One every
seconds
second.
or sooner.
I've got my long exposure camera all ready to go. Let's do it.
Oh, they just continued the warning.
Mm-hmm.
I will hold on reading that for just a second.
Oh.
He's evidently mobile driving in it.
There's a strike that happened clear up north of Jeff's house, clear up in Lawrence County. And now in Dade County. Holy crap.
Excuse me?
That is due west of Ash Grove, just one strike. Oh, there were two that happened clear over in just south of Nixon.
Good evening.
Or,
The time is
Ozark.
10 o'clock p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Weather conditions. Cloudy. Temperature 85 degrees.
Echo. Okay. I will be back momentarily.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Need to get those. That says that like the cartoons used to on Saturday.
Stations monitoring.
Hey,
This is KD.
I'm sure that's possible if we
We
don't
will
like
be
it
back
on
after
top.
these
Skywarn.
messages
Severe
from our
thunderstorm warning
sponsors.
remains in effect until 10:15 p.m. for eastern Newton County. At 9:58 p.m., severe thunderstorm is located near Granby or near Neosho, moving northeast at 5 miles per hour. Golf ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts can be expected. Impact people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles.
I wouldn't want
Wind
to be hit
damage
by
to roofs,
a
siding,
golf
and trees.
ball, let alone a golf ball
Locations
sized
impacted
chunk of
include
ice.
Sure.
Neosho, Diamond, Newtonia,
hurts, man.
Ritchie, Granby,
Hurts a lot.
Fairview, Stark
Yeah.
City.
Yeah.
If
For
it's
your
all
protection,
jaggedy,
please
you
move to an interior room on the
Ugh.
lowest floor of
Yeah.
a building at this time. Continuous cloud-to-ground
Wasn't there
lightning is occurring with the
That
storm.
Disney show or
Move
the
indoors
Disney
immediately.
Discovery when the
Lightning
Storm
is
Chaser
one of
guys were
nature's
out.
leading killers.
Somebody
Remember,
went out
if you
there
hear
in
thunder,
football
you are
helmet
close
and
enough to be
pads
struck by lightning.
to see how it if it
In
would
addition,
protect him.
lightning strikes from the storm could be
There's
happening
been a
miles
few
away
different
from the storm,
ones.
not necessarily just in the rain.
The one that I'm
those of
familiar
you who are
with,
in
and
the
I
path
can
of the
never
storm or
remember
in
the
or
other
near the
guy's
storm,
name.
please be
I think it
mindful
was
of
the
that.
show that
This is
Reed
KD
Timmer
080.
was first featured on, where whenever he first had like the TIV, and then they had the guy that was out in Oklahoma with the mobile radar that I can never remember his name. That was on Discovery Channel, I believe.
Yeah.
Who was that you were saying,
Tim
Rodney?
Samaras.
Well, there
Was that him that was out there with the mobile radar?
Yes.
The
Yes, one of them.
meteorology
Wow, I didn't realize that.
researcher out of Colorado had the mobile Doppler radar.
Yeah.
Josh.
But this was like way back when they first started putting Reed Timmer on Discovery. I mean, he was just driving around in an SUV and had some dude in the back seat that was going to get out and see if it would hurt him if he got hit with hailstones. And he had like high school football pads on.
Well, I know I saw one of the episodes because they had it on Netflix for a while when we kind of within like the first year or two that we had Netflix, and I was watching it, and there was an episode. It may or may not have been a Suburban, but it was some kind of SUV vehicle that they were in, and they were getting hit with so much hail. I don't think there was a single window in the vehicle that was not shattered. The windshield was so bad, they actually had to kick it out so they could see to drive.
If it's the ones I'm thinking about, they were actually doing hail research, and they carried coolers with them, and they would jump out with helmets on and some padding and grab hailstones and throw them in this cooler. Yeah. And there's research like that going on all
kind of
over.
crazy right there.
Yeah, you'd have to be. Have you seen Reed Timmer's car this year?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Talk about hail. He got that down in Mississippi. Oh my heavens, that car. He's got a 2018 Subaru, and I can't remember which one.
The Dent.
And
it's called the Dent.
There's not an inch of that car that is not dented.
Oh, I know. It's bad.
It's
Give
really
him
bad.
some kudos. Who knows how many times he's had his windshield replaced.
This is just my personal opinion. I have seen on YouTube storm chasers and spotters. Got my brand new 1 or 2 year old quad cab 4x4 pickup truck. That's my spotting or chasing vehicle, and they do the tour of it. I'm like, okay, glad that you're enthused about it and everything, but a $30,000 to $40,000 pickup truck would not be my ideal of the ideal chasing or spotting vehicle. I'd want something that mechanically is in great shape, has a good engine, has a good suspension, everything like that is fine. If it's 5, 10, or even 15 years old, I wouldn't care. If the body's maybe not in the greatest of shape, I wouldn't care, because if it goes through a couple hailstorms, it's not going to be pristine anyway. Just kind of my thoughts on a storm chasing or spotting vehicle.
So is this
we have a local we we have a local chaser who 2.5 inches per hour rain rates on this thing. So we have a local chaser who sent some of that my way. Randy, and I'll just stop there. Randy drives Toyotas. He has this amazing ability to take an old vehicle, throw an engine in it, rebuild everything underneath of it so that it's sturdy, and he goes out in the field in these things. It's just amazing to me. He also rebuilds Buicks. But it's the Toyotas that he is really enamored of for being out. And he gets the older ones, and he's lost a few windshields along the way. He does research. He's actually got probes on board that he takes out. And for those who might be interested, he's also the one who is in charge of Jim's ashes. And he is in search of the tornado to put them in. He's got this. He actually designed the pyramid that Jim requested for them to be in, and he's got it ready to go. when that magic hour happens.
Cool.
I think he was the guy that coined the phrase "turdoda."
Mm-hmm. He was.
Oh
I
boy.
like Randy. I've talked to him on the phone over at Jim's house in the past, and uh, Jim introduced us, and then in Jim's hospital room, he happened to show up with Lisa, his chase partner, and got to meet them face to face. And then he showed me the probe that he had in the back of his car.
Cool.
So that was really cool. I got to see that. So
Well, I'm sure that everyone has at least one time seen the video of a camera pointed out the back of a vehicle and a great big red semi truck that tips over and slides into that vehicle. There's like almost for a long time, almost every single storm documentary included that footage, and that's an Australian guy that comes up here in our tornado alley season, and then chases in Australia as well. And Patty, you probably could remind me of the name. I can't say who he is. He's a ham. He does a really great job of reporting things too, which is really cool.
give me a second.
It
I know the first name.
See, I'm wondering if it's the same guy that I've talked to some on the repeater during nets, because there's a guy that's either British or Australian.
No,
No,
it's not
UHF.
this.
guy,
That's
I
Jonathan.
thought
he's
he
here.
was
That's
here.
Jonathan.
that's
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's
He lives
UHF.
here. This guy's name is Daniel Shaw.
That's right.
So
Gotcha.
Daniel Shaw kind of likes that Toyota Land Cruiser style. I don't know if he always has exactly a Land Cruiser, but one of the things that he does is there is a type of window tint out there that will make your windows almost bulletproof. And in that video, you see the evidence of how well it works because his vehicle was beat up and it did not break a single side window. Now he puts a
That's cool.
kind of a expanded metal thing over the front to keep the windshield from getting busted, but he rarely ever has problems with glass just because of that window tint. I actually found where you could get it, but it is not something that is inexpensive. It really costs. But if you consider that a normal, even used window is going to cost you $100 every time it breaks, it's probably worth it.
That's what I was going to say. The cost of the expense of putting it on versus given over a certain amount of time, how many windows you would replace, it probably pays for itself.
Yeah. Hank, he's Pecos Hank. He's always talking about replacing windshields. He's got a place he goes to in Houston that loves his business, I think.
Yeah, but they'll replace a windshield for $100, so you just have to put up with the Mexican church service in the waiting room.
But also depending on how frequently he has to have windows replaced, they probably definitely like them. They probably, when they see him pull in the parking lot, the owner probably thinks, "There's my boat payment."
Yeah.
Could
Well,
be.
and they're not using new; they're pulling them out of other cars, and so it's very economical. And those guys are good enough; they could probably peel a windshield out and replace it in an hour, where it would take me 2 or 3 to do all the work the way it should be. I don't know. I guess the best I ever did was about
That's
an
what
hour and a half. But
that's what we used to do sometimes with our own personal stuff, or even stuff with the wreckers. If a part new was just outrageously expensive, we'd go to 1 or 2 or 3 of the junkyards and say you need something on the front, find a similar make, model, year that maybe got rear-ended, but the front is fine. a lot of times doing stuff like that, you can get the parts for quite a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
So we're getting a report here of golf ball size hail 3 miles south of Granby. They're looking for confirmation on that. I'm getting a report of down 3 branches outside of Diamond, and I'm trying to get.
Oh.
Have you heard from Cade?
No.
Okay, right there. He may or may not possibly be out with the fire department. But yeah, there's south of Granby. There's a lot of orange and intense red. And then let me go ahead and look at my different tilts here. Because earlier on tilt 1 wasn't showing much of a hail core, but tilts 2, 3, and 4, particularly 4, were. Yeah, there's a little bit there. And then on 4. Oh yeah, on 4 it's quite a bit more. Which for me, 4 is only 1.7 degrees.
AEL with Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn. The National Weather Service in Springfield has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeast Newton, northwest Berry, and southwestern Lawrence counties in southwest Missouri until 11 p.m. At 10:12 p.m., severe thunderstorm was located near Granby or near Neosho, moving east at 5 miles per hour. Golf ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts
kind of while
can be
she's
expected
reading
from this
that,
storm, potentially causing impacts to people and animals outdoors. Hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles, and wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Monette, Pierce City, Fairview, Pioneer, Wentworth, Ritchie, Granby,
right
Wheaton,
around
Newtonia,
here
Stella, and Stark
is
City.
where that
For your protection, move to an
quite a bit
interior room
huge
on the
hail
lowest floor of a
is
building at
on
this time.
the
Large hail and
tilt
damaging
4, so
winds
that's
with continuous
1.7
cloud to ground
degrees.
lightning are occurring with this
But
storm.
if I just go down to
KD
tilt
08
3,
with Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn.
you'll see quite a bit of it disappears, and you've just got this little piece right here, and now that's 1.2 degrees. And then you go down to tilt 2, and I think it completely, it completely goes away. That's 0.8 degrees, and then whenever you go to tilt 1, which is half a degree, still no hail. So, at least for me, I'm not seeing very much of it until I'm on my highest tilt level.
Huh. So the
And see,
storms
that's
out
one
to
of the
east
things that
pretty much
I've
are
come to
done.
find. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was going to say the storms that were happening out to the east that originally had a warning on look like they just have turned into rain.
Yeah, earlier I was noticing, well, in fact, right now, the only thing that I see, well, no, I take that back. Around Alton is still in our watch area. Van Buren, I think, is just outside. So, yeah, there's a little bit of some stuff around Alton there. Kanashkanag, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Koshkanag.
Still a little bit just north of Gainesville, but that's even less.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. But yeah, that all has really broke down. But this over here to the west, it's still pretty strong.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of intensifying a bit.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm laughing. I don't know what it is.
Stations monitoring. This is KD0AEL. The National Weather Service in Springfield has issued a flood advisory for eastern Newton County until 4:15 a.m. At 10:16 p.m., Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to thunderstorms. This will cause minor
Pause for
flooding
the
in the
cause.
advisory area. Up to 2 inches of rain have already fallen.
Yeah,
Creeks,
the
streams,
rain
and low
here
water
in the last
crossings will be
little
especially
bit has
susceptible to the
really,
dangers of flooding.
really picked up.
Locations in the
Before, it
advisory
was
include
mostly
Neosho,
some
Fairview,
yellows
Stella,
and
Stark
orange
City,
and maybe a little bit
Granby,
orange red, but there
Newtonia,
wasn't really
Wentworth, and
much
Ritchie. This
red in
advisory
there.
includes, but is
Now
not
it's
limited
almost
to, the following
all
low water
orange,
crossings.
orange-red,
Business
and
Highway 60
spots
just
of
north of Neosho,
just
and
intense
Route
red.
W at Shoal Creek near Ritchie. Be especially cautious at night when
So
it is
I'm not surprised that they
harder
have
to
not
recognize
issued a
the
flooded
dangers
that
of flooding.
they did
A flood
issue a
advisory
flood
means
advisory
rivers
for
or
East.
stream flows are elevated or ponding of water in urban or other areas is occurring or is imminent. This is KD08EO.
I am back for the moment.
Okay.
Steve will be right back after these messages.
I heard the door.
Oh.
This is your extended coverage.
So, just to
Weather
get
live
slightly
now
off
as it is
topic,
happening.
to get slightly off topic while Steve is gone, I think here later on tonight, I think I am going to download Darktable and kind of play around with it. I still really haven't played around very much with GIMP, so I'll have two different things to kind of play around
So,
with other than the
GIMP
Apple
is
Photo app.
GIMP is great for me anyway, for doing layers. I can't do those in Darktable. So I keep GIMP for that, and for annotating when you want something that has clear background. GIMP is the program to use that for. Darktable, on the other hand, I use pretty extensively for my photo production, and I'll use, well, when you get it downloaded, I can kind of tell you what to make sure you've got, but I will make use of the shadows and highlights. I make use of contrast, brightness. There are some other features in there. Of course, the crop feature is great in that one. Get little imperfections off the edges of the photos and whatnot. So yeah, that it's probably the closest thing you will get to Lightroom.
Yeah.
Without
and I've heard a lot of
being-
people compare it to Lightroom.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people kind of a similar workflow to kind of like what you have said with Lightroom and Photoshop. They'll use Lightroom for 95% of it, and then they keep Photoshop around for the few things that they might need to do that Lightroom just doesn't do. I could kind of see Darktable and GIMP kind of filling those roles as well. I'm not even for sure if you can even do layers in Lightroom. I don't think you can.
I don't know.
And
I've never played with Lightroom, so.
One thing that I'm kind of surprised with the Apple Photos app, because it basically was supposed to be a merger of iPhoto and Aperture, which used to be Apple's Pro photo editing software, which I had always heard a lot of people say it's just as good as Photoshop. Depending on how you want to use it, it can be better than Photoshop. But they stopped development for it. They don't do it anymore. So this Photos app was supposed to be kind of like a merger, supposedly, of the best features of iPhoto and Aperture. But it seems like a lot of those Pro features, or at least in the version that I have that runs on El Capitan, it seems like a lot of those pro features are just not there. It does do levels, but there is no curves adjustment. And I've heard in the last 10, 15 years people saying almost that curves are almost more important anymore than levels. It's nice if you have both, but if you had to have just one or the other, you want curve adjustments over levels.
Right.
And it's just not in there.
And once again, I'm lost.
So that's just you'll learn. You'll stick around the three of us long enough, and we'll teach you.
Yeah, that or you'll be hearing crickets here in a minute.
What?
But I just want something that's not going to break the bank, that I don't feel like I have to take a college course to learn how to use decently, but I can at least use to take my photos to kind of the next level.
So, getting creative, this looks like a heart-shaped storm.
Yeah.
Almost,
It does.
yes.
It does.
It does.
It's saying, I love
particularly
you,
if you kind of
Richie.
look
Let me
at it
pour
kind
my
of at an
heart out on
angle.
you.
Holy
Actually,
cow,
I don't
97
know.
strikes a minute.
It may be a broken heart. If you kind of look at that kind of that southeast corner, that almost looks like the heart's kind of been ripped into a little bit. So I don't know. It may be a broken heart.
Stella just ripped my heart in two.
Yeah. I have an achy broken heart. Southwest Missouri, feel my rainfall.
Oh boy.
I knew I had to do
Are
that
we
one time
chunked?
tonight.
You got it. We're not the only ones live. Storm chasing video is live tonight. Central Minnesota
boy,
scanner live stream and radar live feed test.
Well, we have another viewer in the chat room, Kevin Price. He's saying that the storm wants love.
This storm what?
The storm wants love. Means we were talking about it being shaped like a heart. It wants love.
Oh my.
Although I think you are right, Patty. It seems like it's slowly doing it, but it seems like as time goes by, kind of that northern or northeastern lobe, kind of around Wentworth, Pierce City, and now just west of Monette, it almost looks like it's peeling off.
What direction is that thing going? Because this sure looks like it's coming our way.
It is.
Well, no,
It
not
is.
really
It's
our
kind
way.
of weird.
It's meandering a
Yeah,
bit,
it's
but
slowly
overall
moving
it's
to the
making
northeast.
an eastward. Yeah, making an east up 60.
Yeah,
Not very
I'm kind
quickly,
of
though.
seeing kind of like 4 different tracks on it, kind of that lobe that I was just now talking about that might break off. It's kind of moving northeast. The part that's still kind of southwest of Newtonia looks like it's kind of heading like a little bit south, but mostly east. And then I've got 2 different other tracks that are south of Rocky Comfort. One looks like it's like immediately southeast, and then the other one's more east of Rocky Comfort. They look like they're heading more kind of southeast, more towards Cassville. So
Patients monitoring. This is
I wonder if this is going to kind of break up into
Skywarn.
at least
Serious
two,
thunderstorm warning
maybe
remains
three
in effect
pieces.
until 11 o'clock p.m. for southeastern Newton, northwestern Berry, and southwestern Lawrence County.
It's weird, and then
At
like
10:20
5
p.m.,
minutes from
severe
now,
thunderstorm
all
is
4 of these
located
storm
near
tracks may be
Fairview,
going in
or
completely
9
different
miles
directions.
east of Neosho.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. It's
5
like it
miles per
completely
hour.
changed.
Golf balls
The
tail end,
software
60
is
mile per hour
trying
wind
to
gusts can be
recognize where
expected.
it's going, and it
Locations
can't.
impacted include Monette, Pierce City,
Well,
Fairview,
sometimes I wonder if
Pioneer,
it's that, or
Wentworth,
sometimes I
Ritchie,
just
Granby,
wonder if
Wheaton,
the
Newtonia,
storms just
Stella,
are
and
not
Stark City.
shifting that
All of
much.
the
And it may be more of a
hazards from this
software
storm can
interpretation
cause great
situation,
damage to
but I just
persons,
sometimes wonder.
vehicles,
I mean, if you kind of
homes,
look at it,
trees.
it will kind of
Please
shift a little
move
bit, and
inside
maybe
to an
to the
interior
south, and then
room
it'll go
on the
more
lowest
north,
floor
and
of the
it'll
building
maybe
for
go
your
more
protection.
east.
This is KD080 with Southwest
It sometimes
Missouri
can
Regional
make it
Skywarn.
a little bit more difficult to predict exactly where these storms are going to go.
I just read they're moving east.
So, Rodney, take that time thing out and see how long it's going to take to get to like Highway 65.
I don't know if it'll let me, basically expand it that far.
I don't. I think they're pretty much set.
Kevin just posted in the chat room that about 30 minutes ago, his house got a lightning strike bounce off the metal door from GF. I'm not for sure what he's meaning there, and kind of freaked him out. Metal door from girlfriend, I guess, freaked out and started yelling. She's seen the spark, but there was no damage, so that's good.
Oh, that's good.
Not every day as a metal door protects you from lightning.
No.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Rodney, I figured it out that cheese sauce is actually an effective Faraday cage.
Really?
Yeah, have you ever tried to heat up
now,
macaroni and
is
cheese
there
and you always end up with cold spots? That's why, right there.
Now, is there a difference between store-bought cheese sauce, or do you have more effectivity with homemade cheese sauce? Does it matter whether it's a package that you have to mix up, or just
Velveeta.
plain old cheese whiz?
The
Velveeta's not quite
The
sauce.
almost cheese sauce.
research
Velveeta?
on that particular. I do
It's
know
a
that
Gouda.
it's. I try to heat up my macaroni and cheese, and I always get cold spots. So it's got to be a Faraday cage.
You know, I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking. Go ahead, Patty, because I'm just making a joke.
So electrons in your microwave do move at different rates depending on the density. And so I think what Steve is saying is, depending on how dense your mac and cheese is, it makes it an effective Faraday cage.
Well, I can tell you, cheese is dense.
Yeah.
No,
Rodney,
I was just going to say, I'm wondering if you take the time, if you make your own bechamel sauce and put the the fresh grated nutmeg, not the stuff that's already been grated and been in the store for 2 years, and then you buy a nice quality English cheddar or a sharp Vermont white. Does that increase your density?
Cheese. I'm going to have to go get a big hunk of cheese here in a minute.
So,
hey, I'm
Franklin,
talking about this stuff, and I haven't ate yet.
have you ever made a dish with that pre-grated cheese and the cheese like disappears? You're wondering where it went?
yeah.
Have you ever done that? Yeah. So when it's pre-grated,
I'm
so
not
it
for
doesn't
sure.
stick, so it doesn't stick together. Most of that is wax coated.
I gotcha.
So
it's like you said, so it doesn't stick.
right, and so you use it in a dish like you're making a cheese sauce or something to go on mac and cheese,
Mhm.
and the cheese like disappears. but yet it congeals back and it makes this hard lump. It's the wax.
Yeah.
It's the wax.
See, I'm trying to think, and
boy.
most of the time, whenever I've done anything like that, it would have been whenever I was making a cheese fondue, and I don't use pre-shredded cheese for that. I always, buy a hunk of cheese and I shred it myself.
Good for
So
you.
I don't think I've ever encountered that.
Guys, this
Yeah, we just.
lightning rate just hit 133 strikes per minute.
Whoa.
This is one of the most intense electrical storms I've ever seen in the Ozarks, honestly.
Here, do you want me to bring up the GR level 3 again? Let's see what it looks like, or level 2 rather.
It
See what it
still
looks
has a heart pattern to it, but man.
Yeah, isn't that wild? That's
It
so
does.
cool. I can see memes out of this, Patty. You better take a picture.
Oh, hold on. I got like 3 conversations going. I think I'm gonna bring it up on mine. It'll be easier.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll change mine up. I'm gonna get GR level 2 here.
Thunderstorm low 7:15 or 7:16:20. Ah,
I haven't seen what this latest warning is all about.
golf ball size hail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. They're continuing the one that's out there,
The polygon.
and
like,
I'll
super
return.
Barry and Lawrence.
Is it a heart-shaped polygon?
Yeah, literally.
Not quite, but
This
if
is monitoring.
you took
This
like
is
that
Kate
northern
080.
point and cut that
The
kind of
initial
more
warning
almost
does
at an
remain in effect
angle, it
until 11
almost
p.m.
would be
for
a diamond
southeastern
pattern.
Northwest Berry and southwestern Lawrence counties. At 10:33, severe thunderstorm was located near Fairview, or
It would
10 miles
almost look
east
like a
of
faceted
Neosho.
diamond.
Northwestern, moving east at 5 miles per hour, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and quarter-size hail can be expected
Oh,
from
and yeah,
this
up
storm.
in Iowa,
We
I
are
bet
looking for
you
hail
guys had some
confirmations from
amazing
this area, so if anyone has
cheeses
any
up there.
hail reports, please pass them along. Locations impacted include Monette,
Oh, now
Wheaton,
they've changed it.
Newtonia, Stella,
My
Fudge
radar
City,
just updated
Pierce
and it's
City, Fairview,
changed.
Pioneer, and Wentworth. Please take cover
They
from
kind
the
of
storm.
flattened the top
in an
part of
interior
what would have
room
been the
on
top
the
part of
lowest
the
floor of the
diamond, I guess, to take
If you are
Richie out
mobile,
of the area.
torrential rainfall is occurring with the storm
Look at
and
that.
may lead to flash flooding. This is Katie 080 with Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn.
What the heck? Is that overshooting? Is that what that is? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's. Look at that.
Yeah, kind of. You're talking about there in the kind of the middle.
green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, it looks like it's throwing hail up into that.
Yeah.
Man. That's crazy.
Let me look and see what my-
That is an intense storm.
Mhm.
144 strikes per minute. Dang.
We brought it to you first, folks.
Sha. I gotta listen
Now,
to
see-
something here.
See, I switched to my Tilt 4, and I'm not seeing any hail core now, so that must have went up higher than what I can see on radar scope. Wow. Let me just check 3 and
What is
2.
surprising is it's mostly not affecting HF. Even to 160 meters, it's not. There's not like an overabundance of lightning strike static like you usually
lightning
get with
crashes.
a storm.
That's interesting.
I'm a bit surprised at that, actually.
What I miss?
Yeah.
So we were at
Apparently
144
HF
strikes
is
per
not
minute.
suffering.
I caught that part. I've got a spotter sitting out there. He said he lost count after 82.
Yeah. that's and it's the field of lightning strikes is expanding. It's actually getting bigger. I just showed a strike that hit Southwest Springfield. I mean, this is a huge area of lightning. I'm going to say that if there, I went out. I just went to between the garage and the house, and I did not see any lightning or hear any thunder. However, it's pretty low overcast right now. And that has a tendency to dampen it quite a bit.
So I'm going to share my screen, and I want somebody to tell me what creature from Star Trek had a mask like this. Because this is...
I almost
Star
have
Trek
a
trivia is not
feeling
till tomorrow
without
night.
seeing it, I may know. Although I'm not seeing it, I'm just seeing a black screen.
Oh, it's there now.
Okay.
Takes it a little to load.
Okay.
You mean in the radar?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I see a heart.
Okay.
Okay.
I pulled out the view.
Okay, it's got to be
So
one
it's
of
got
two
an
things.
antenna. It's got an antenna coming out the top of the head. It's got a very long nose. The heart almost sits like that there. That's where the eye sockets are. The round tops of the heart. And then it's got these pointy things off the cheeks before the snout. It seems like I saw a creature
Now,
like
are
that.
you talking about Star Trek or Star Wars?
It may have been Star Wars, but
If it's gonna be Star
Are
Wars,
they typically green?
yeah.
Okay, that's a Rhodian.
Okay. I knew I'd seen it in
You're
something.
referring to you're referring to Guido the bounty hunter that Han Solo blasts in the bar, right?
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of his species. Are the Rhodians? They come from the planet Rhodaria. See, at first I thought when you said Star Trek, I was like, is she going for another crystalline entity reference? Then when you said antennas, I'm like, well, it's got to be an Andorian. Some of them have kind of long noses, but I wouldn't describe them as a snout. And then I kind of got to thinking, and I'm like, is she talking about a Rhodarian from Star Wars?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Gotcha.
That's it. It was not one of those featured creatures that had any kind of longevity on the show. And now, Steve, if you will look on your radar, Northern Green, we now have a cell developing, and you can, and possibly, and we'll have to keep an eye on this, just to the east of the D in Springfield, there is another little spot that is possibly another little cell popping up.
I think my radar is a little behind of yours, but
I'm gonna say I'm not seeing that, and we have the same.
I'm seeing that second one. It looks like it's east of Springfield and south of Stratford is where
Right.
I'm
Just
seeing
south
on my
of
I do see that.
I-44,
Very
yeah.
slight.
Yeah. The other one
I
is
see
to
the one near
west,
Everton.
to the west of 65, in the middle of the scatter. Let's see what's up there. It's actually closer to 13, directly south of Pleasant Hope, but definitely into Greene County. There's a little cell there.
Almost where we had field day.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, okay, I see.
Except
maybe
it's the other
just a
side of
little-
13. It's
yeah,
What's
it's
wild
maybe
is there's
just a
so
little
much
bit
scatter,
more
it's
than
hard to see.
halfway. So here, let me go ahead and make a couple marks here. And I'll go ahead and share my screen for a second.
It was very humid when I walked outside. A lot more humid than it was earlier in the evening when I came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I do
Close.
apologize. as I was sharing this, the radar shifted, but still, in general, you can kind of see the two cells near the circles, not quite
Yeah.
the side.
Yep.
Yeah, it's maintaining like 142 strikes. That's everything in southwest Missouri, of course, but still, that one storm is driving this all. I'm kind of curious how these little ones are going to develop.
Yeah. It would definitely be interesting.
Wow. So
And then
I got something
There's
to
stuff.
read, and then I've got a video to share. This is amazing lightning.
And while she's doing that, I'll go ahead and share my screen again, kind of to give everyone the larger, wider perspective. Here you've got that storm that's kind of between Pleasant Hope and Springfield, kind of over here somewhere is the one south of Stratford. And then here's the big one that's still in that kind of Neosho to Monette to almost now Cassville kind of triangle.
Northwest Berry counties. Severe thunderstorm was located at 10:42 near Fairview,
And then
or
kinda
13
here,
miles southwest of Monette.
It
Moving
looks,
east
well,
at
okay,
15
yeah.
miles
Kind
per
of
hour.
here looks like there's maybe a little bit of a
60 mile per hour wind
gust
gusting,
front
quarter
or
size
maybe
hail
a,
can be expected from this
outflow.
storm. Locations
And then I'm not
impacted
for sure if this
include
is just an
Monette,
artifact of maybe the
Fairview,
radar
Pioneer,
beam, or if
Wheaton,
that's maybe
Newtonia, Stark City.
something else as well.
Torrential rainfall is also occurring with the storm and can lead to flash flooding. This is KD08EL.
But things are
And
definitely getting kind
FYI,
of interesting here.
we are up to about 142 lightning strikes per minute, according to data that we're finding. And this is tremendous lightning. Lightning is a definite danger. Please move away from windows and doors and into an interior room. This is KD08EL.
I need a third monitor. I need one just for radar and nothing else.
I'm using 2 computers and a cell phone right now, so.
You don't want to see what I got going on.
No, I understand. I did that some whenever I first got the laptop going. I would do Facebook and chat on the laptop. And then I did radar and NWS chat on the iMac, on the 2 screens on the iMac.
What's cool is, so I dug out I had a touchscreen monitor that I was using, and so what I did is I mounted my ham radio, my DX3100. I mounted it kind of more out of the way, so I have more space on my desk. But now that I've got a full screen touchscreen, I can basically go on like Ham Radio Deluxe, and I've got full control of all of my aspects of my radio.
Oh, nice.
And it's like basically like having a touchscreen radio.
So it's kind of like having the Maestro control unit for like the Flex radios.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it's
Nice.
kind of neat. Like I said, if I, you just have to start it, you touch it, and then it goes, and it automatically responds to you, and I can kind of scrub back and forth and fine tune. It's really neat. I like what I did. It worked out pretty well.
And I think a couple of the control apps for SDR radios also have like tablet versions. So kind of similar to that, you can use like your iPad or your Android tablet as your touch control for your SDR.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
What are we gonna watch?
Thank you.
This spotter is located outside of Diamond, or actually outside of Granby.
Is he live?
He just sent me this video.
It was kind of choppy. It's hard to see.
Yeah, it was cell phone, and he sent it in chat. So blown up, it really doesn't look very good. But to give you an idea of what is being experienced out there in the lightning.
If you want to share it to me, I can see if it'll play a little bit better on my end if you want.
I'll see if I can share it here. Forward. Hello. Let's send it in Jungle Chasers.
Jungle Chasers.
There you go.
Oh.
So there's another sound effect you need to get.
Oh yeah, Thundercats.
Thunder. Oh man.
You're supposed to go. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, boy.
Thunder, 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 thunder. Never mind.
Oh my.
Is that one that your kids watched, Rodney?
Oh shoot, no, I watched that. I like
you did.
Thundercats. Oh yeah.
Cicely watched that. Yeah. Yeah.
My kids
I used
watched
to-
Inspector Gadget.
I used to like Captain Planet because Captain Planet could control the atmosphere and all that stuff for good, you know, and of course it always came down to, you know, cleaning up the environment and, you know, blah blah blah.
So it looks to me like this storm has taken a turn a bit southeast. I don't know if the plateau effect is happening. Just can't overcome that to come in our direction. But they've moved the warning down into that little corner there of Barry and Newton, and the storm's definitely, it's reaching back to the southwest, but it's moving southeast. It definitely doesn't have a lot of steering winds. It is following that front, though.
Well, be a little more specific about that front, because that's
Okay,
interesting
well,
to know about.
Green sharing. Storms will often do this. They will have a boundary or a front that is giving them the lift. It's a bit of a steering mechanism for them. So if you see the red line across my screen here, that is the current low pressure front, or that would be steering the storms. And if I back out a little bit here, it'll take a second to catch up. You can see the storms over by Poplar Bluff as well, that are also riding along that same front. And they just expired the warning. I shall return.
Let me see if this will play. Steve, do you see my end?
Patty's still sharing. So, yep. Hang on here. Let me get you up to full screen. There you go. Let her rip.
Dang, that's intense.
That is.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
play it again. You were talking about how many lightning strikes there were.
Monitoring, this is
Yeah,
KD08EL.
154 a minute.
Severe
And when he
thunderstorm
took that, it
warning
was
for
probably
southeastern
140.
Newton and northwestern Berry counties will be allowed to expire at
That,
11
that's definitely
p.m.
what I would call
The storm that
continuous.
prompted the warning
Oh,
has
did you
weakened
see
below
that one?
severe limits and no longer poses an immediate threat to life
If
or
you were
property.
a
If you notice
chaser
any
out in
damage
the
from the
dark looking
storms
for
that
a
have moved
tornado,
through this
that
area,
would be one of
we
the
are
things that
standing
you'd look
by
for, is
any
that kind of
reports.
lightning
We'll
strikes.
also take any
Yeah,
hail
that
reports.
way you could
Please give your
see
call
the
sign,
silhouette of
location,
the
event,
condensation
and any
cloud
size,
or the
wind
funnel.
down,
Well,
What we
or,
typically think of as the
hail
actual
sizes
tornado.
that you have observed.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd
This
ever
is
see it, 'cause I don't think I've
KD08.
ever seen it. What it is that those tornadoes will generate a ton of lightning just because
Yeah.
of the air movement. And that's kind of your key. You go out there looking, and where it's the most severe, well, where the most severe, the most lightning is where it's the most severe.
I got what you're saying.
I know that.
They are finding that's not 100% true. There are tornadoes that have occurred with no visible lightning at night.
However,
I
be that
wonder
as
if it
it
depends
may,
on.
it
I
has
wonder if
been.
it-
Most chasers agree that that's how you find stuff in
Oh, sure.
the night sky.
Especially if chasing at night. You're not going to see it otherwise.
Well, I just kind of wonder if it depends on what particles are in the air, whether there's a strong electrical charge in the air, how things kind of get buffeted together, and kind of what kind of friction it may or may not cause, whether or not it does cause a lot of lightning or not as much. But definitely it would be an indicator of something potentially, and then like I had said, it might allow you to actually see the silhouette of the tornado to actually be able to see it. And Rodney cues the crickets.
It did get awful quiet there, didn't it? Hold on,
Yes.
hold up. Here we get it.
Okay.
Crickets.
Yeah, crickets. I'm gonna make sure my soundboard's up here. Here we go.
So, folks, if you're interested in becoming a storm net control or get involved with Skywarn, sometimes it gets like this.
You get stir crazy.
And you're sitting there going, there's a storm there,
It
Well,
ain't
what's-
moving.
but it ain't moving. Well, it is moving now. It's actually moved to the north, which is like, okay, I'm pretty convinced we're going to have that crap here, and it's probably going to be about 4 in the morning.
Probably. Either that, or you're watching it move slowly down through Kansas, through Oklahoma. It gets right on the border, but it never quite comes into Missouri, and then it makes a little swing around the corner into northwest Arkansas.
The other day, the storms did that. They come right to the Missouri border, and they died.
They did that twice within a week.
And it's like, what is there? Somebody standing out there on Highway 43 with their fingers crossed, won't let it cross?
I don't know if there's like someone out there with like a massive heat or cold gun that's just, like
Yeah.
cooling it down or whatever so that, oh, no, you're not coming into Missouri.
And then we get
And
this
then
one,
like I said, it makes like that little hook around the corner and goes into northwest Arkansas.
Then we get this one here, and it looks like a giant supercell.
Yes.
I mean, you could legitimately sell that radar image as a supercell, but
It is.
it's not doing normal supercell things.
Not every supercell produces a tornado.
It's a lazy
Not-
cell.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lazy supercell.
No, and
Hey, it's the supercell with a heart.
Yeah. At least it
Oh,
was.
jeez. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta get better at this. I gotta get a better program.
You need a DJ program.
You gotta be faster.
Yeah, I do. I need one I can just push a button and.
Yeah.
There we go.
that one.
so okay, Spotter's going home.
They're done?
The storm's done.
I got
He has
158
no
strikes
heart.
a minute. Are you
They-
kidding?
I know, but it's dropped below severe limits. They don't have for lightning. They don't have criteria for severe. That's
That's
yes, there's
interesting.
still some incredible lightning in it, but they don't have a measuring tool for lightning at this time. So they're saying that the winds have died. The radar's indicating that the hail core has weakened. The storm itself has weakened. So
So
Anyway.
would you say it's losing heart?
it's losing heart.
Oh.
Aw.
I was ready for that one.
All it
Don't
needs is some
break
flowers
my
and a box
heart.
of chocolate.
My achy breaky heart.
Oh.
I just don't think you'd understand. Oh.
Oh,
Dang, oh dang. Man, this thing's coming right
You're
at
lucky.
us.
You're lucky I have amazing control, Rodney. Otherwise, you might have got
It's
spit taken to my
actually-
webcam.
It's
I
moving.
would have got bit taken.
It's moving east.
Hold on,
but
let
if
me
you
get my
see-
mask.
As it's dying, look at the outflow it's throwing. This is very typical of a summer thunderstorm dying.
Kind of from Mount
they-
Vernon up to Lamar.
Well, we're gonna say from
Okay,
the
now you can-
Arkansas line,
Now you can
Okay.
spit.
from the Arkansas line to just north, almost Miller. You've got outflow from this storm, and yeah, it's dying. Yeah, and you can tell even from the reflectivity on this, the hail core has weakened.
11 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, it might be
Weather
headed this
conditions,
way, but we're not going to see much out of it.
84
Well, at
degrees.
least if we just get like maybe a little bit of gentle rain, it'll be
I
better
need
than
an
what we've been
inch
having.
of rain. I need an inch of rain at my house.
Mhm.
Are you kidding? You left the soaker hose running all night last night almost.
Who turned it on?
I did, and I thought you were going to turn it off.
Nothing was said about that.
Yeah.
Who got up out
Uh-oh.
of bed at 3:30 in the morning and turned it off?
That would have been
It
a sight to
wasn't
see. What time was that? About 3?
I was in my nightie about 3:30 out there turning the hose off. Then I had to wipe my feet so I could come back to bed. But as I said, that wasn't so dramatic. That was a couple of days ago. There's a kink in that green hose, and if you don't undo the kink, it doesn't let much water through. So that flower bed really didn't get as much as you might think.
Think.
It got plenty.
It got plenty because it got 3 hours of a trickle, but it didn't get as much as you think because it wasn't full force going through the soaker hose. So anyway, I have to get up at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. So
What?
I have an errand to run with my sister tomorrow. I have to do more adulting.
Adulting.
Adulting sucks.
It
Ugh.
does. It does. It's been a week. I've still got a pile of papers to go through tomorrow. one more dish to cook for the weekend, camera bags to pack, laundry to do. Ugh. Anyway, uh, but I don't know if Steve told you, we are going comet chasing Saturday night. I'm taking
That's
off
what I
from
heard.
work. Yeah, I'm taking off from work the second half of my shift. And we are hoping that um, the comet will make its appearance so that we can get a reflection into a lake from it. So that's
Oh,
our
that'd be cool.
hope. So we're waiting for a high pressure to move in. If I wait till my next day's off, it's going to be cloudy again, according to long distance forecasts. So
If this storm continues on its current path, it might be in Ozark by Saturday.
Okay. It does look like it could come through kind of diagonally through the middle of Greene County. It's just wind. And does it evaporate before it gets here?
Right.
That's
They're gonna
if you look at it
finish
now, it's
blowing
the slow motion bow echo. You see it? It's getting that curve to it.
It's more like a no echo.
Yeah, I mean,
little bit.
it's slow motion. It's gonna take 5,000 radar scans for it to get here.
It's stretching itself out, reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just keep reaching this way.
A few little
Not an
pieces
inch, please.
have broken off and kind of went up towards Carthage. There's another little thing down by Viola that's kind of broken off of it. It looks like between Jane and Pineville, there's a little piece that's broken off, and I think it's just kind of breaking off and slowly dying.
All right, well.
So on that note, Patty, take us away.
Yep.
All right. It's been fun tonight. Thanks for joining us once again on the Jungle Chaser Show. I think we could probably be fair in calling it that. And hope you've learned a little something and enjoyed this as well. If you ever have any questions from us, shoot us comment. We've got folks that watch that. And be sure to like and subscribe. 73 from KD0AEL.
So I guess Franklin, if we go normal thing, it'd be you next.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going with how we introduced at the top of the show, but I'm okay with that. Just want to thank everyone for joining us and everyone that was in the chat. We had some people commenting and everything, and that always makes it fun. I hope that you got some value out of this, whether it was weather information facts or maybe a little bit of side humor. But apparently we all know now that if you're going to make anything with shredded cheese and you want it to turn out good, you buy and shred your own cheese.
Yeah.
Always do it with fondue. But more seriously, just want to thank everyone. Hope everyone has a great weekend coming up and week ahead until we do this again. 73s from KD0 RSJ, turning it over to Rodney.
I think that was a biased statement about the cheese.
Very. And I started it.
No.
Yeah. This goes to show we can talk about anything on this show. So
Of
Yeah.
course.
yeah. So well, guys, it's been nice. Again, thanks for joining us for this week. Again, we'll continue to try to do our best to entertain you and maybe enlighten you in some way or shape or form. Again, like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. And we can always use all the support we can get. So 73 from K0FZ.
And 73 from KA0SPM. Steve in wonderful downtown Springfield, Missouri in Studio G. If you like these kind of shows, please press the like button on the on there and subscribe. Click the notification bell and click all, and then you'll be notified whenever we go live. We've been doing just weekly, but you know, if we get stuff like this going, we may surprise you and jump in the middle of the week. So it's best to have those notifications turned on so you can see when that happens. And with that, thanks to everybody that joined us, and have a great evening. It's KA0 SPM.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.